Good evening, kite jammers and CKA event competitors. This is the Tampa Bay wind report for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and parts of early next week as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the system patterns and some of the winds and speeds to be expected for this upcoming weekend. I know there's a lot of eyes on the weather and the wind to see what's going to happen. So I'm just going to dive right in. Looking at the surface map in front of you, we have a cold front boundary that is slowly working its way through the area. It's fizzling out. We're seeing some of those rains and showers breaking up right now over the Tampa Bay area. This boundary should lay a little bit more east to west as it pushes out to into the Atlantic. This boundary should stay to the south of Tampa Bay across southern Florida or so. We're going to see this high pressure to the north building down a northerly wind and behind this boundary tonight, and then eventually we'll see that become more northeast behind this boundary with a slight gradient building in tomorrow. So we're looking at tomorrow to start out with sort of a modest build, 9 to 13 knots, and then possibly building into the mid-teens by late afternoon. We could see an earlier build as that cooler air advex over the warmer waters of the bay, so there may be a little bit of a temperature gradient there to be able to bring those winds up to the mid-teens earlier in the afternoon. So just keep an eye on the sensors for that. As we get into Saturday, things get a little bit squirrely as we have these low pressures dropping down into the middle United States and swooping back up. That's going to bring another cold front boundary through the area. It's going to be kind of quickly approaching. This high pressure is going to move off to the north and bring more of an easterly wind through the area. And then as this cold front boundary approaches, the winds will become a little bit more southeast as the day goes on. So there'll be a slight build there. Not much. We're looking at modest winds. We could see some messy conditions as that cold front pulls through and maybe some of that boundary to the south lifts up into the area. So you could see a warm front boundary lift up in the area. Saturday could be kind of messy. So just kind of putting it out there to watch radar and watch sensors for some of those trends to stick with the messier conditions. Now as we get into Sunday, I'm going to go up in the surface map and show you something else. We're going to go out to the northwest. We have a very large ridge of high pressure that's going to be working down into the country. This is going to bring another shot of cooler air and another shot of northerly winds as it sets up. Very similar to the high pressure we see now, but it's going to be more robust. And this is going to work in behind that secondary boundary on Saturday and bring in another round of northerly winds for Sunday as it drifts off to the east. So we're looking at a pretty powerful high pressure setup for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday as that high pressure actually sinks a little further down here over Mississippi, Alabama area and then works a northerly wind down into Tampa Bay. And then eventually that high pressure will move over to the north and keep that northerly gradient going over the Tampa Bay area. So when you think about what the winds, the stronger winds are going to do, I'd say tomorrow about a moderate, semi-moderate to moderate gradient. Saturday we're going to see a low gradient, very low confidence on those winds as they go east to even southeast, maybe some messy conditions working in. And Sunday, that's when we start to see a moderate to even somewhat strong gradient build in. So we'll see some 13 to 17 knots and possibly up near 20 knots by the end of the day. And then that should stick through Monday and Tuesday as well as the gradient holds. So looking at the GRE for radar, we can see some of the residual cold front activity working its way through tonight. It's fizzling out over the area as it heads to the south. See some of those rains and showers breaking up. If we look at our infrared, we can see the cloud cover and some of the cold front activity you see is breaking up here to the east. That means high pressure is starting to work down from the north. We're already seeing some of these northerly winds arrive right now into it as it's weakening. So as you see this breaking up of the boundary here to the south, that means high pressure is strong enough to be working down into it, drying out the atmosphere and working those cooler winds in. So here's the water vapor imagery. You can see a little bit more clearly where that boundary is. That cooler, drier air is going to be working in overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. And that should give us or give you in Tampa Bay a decent little gradient for tomorrow. Now, if we look at Datascope from WeatherFlow, let's take a look at some of the stations in your area. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to use the Tampa Bay Cut J sensor since we're going to be having a northerly to northeasterly wind. I think some of those spots on Skyway East are going to favor for this period overall. Some of the spots on DeSoto might be able to catch some of that activity as we go east to southeast. If any gradient builds and we get up into the low to mid-teens on Saturday for any reason whatsoever, we're looking at Fort DeSoto being a pretty good spot for that to be able to catch those winds, and even Skyway East could be a little bit land shotted over there and probably a little bit better off over at Fort DeSoto. So looking at Tampa Bay Cut J, I'm going to pull up some of these models. Let me move me out of the way here so we can see what's going on. I'm going to run all the models on this and show you what's going on. So we've seen the system patterns, we've seen what the gradient setup looks like and what some of the high pressures and low pressure is going to be moving through the area. And we're looking at a double shot of high pressure. And here's our model population. Now we see lots of different things going on here, lots of colors. I usually look for the higher resolution model. So we're looking for the North American model 5 kilometer and the HRR 3K, which is the highest resolution model in here. Now those only go out so far for guidance, then they drop off, but at least we can see a little bite for tomorrow. Now the HER 3K is showing a gradient building in the morning time already up into the mid-teens. So that's on a northeasterly fetch or north-northeasterly fetch, and as the day goes on, that gradient could hold. So it depends on how much trough activity exists in the area and then how strong that high pressure builds in. So we're like I'm calling it 9 to 13 knots, building to 11 to 15, possibly even holding into the mid-teens tomorrow. As we get into Saturday, most models are in agreement with the easterly flow, and as they lean over to the east and even southeast, and the next cold front comes. It's a rather weak cold front, not much rain associated with it. It should slow down as it comes through and then push through Sunday or Saturday night as the next high pressure sets up, and we can see how that jumps up on Sunday from the northwest or north-northwest and then starts to go more north and north-northeast as the day goes on. See those numbers jump up rather suddenly, and then that holds all the way through Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday, even into Thursday as those winds slowly clock over from the north to northeast to east-northeast as time goes on. So I think that's going to do it for the Tampa Bay wind report. I will try to touch base back tomorrow to give an update if there are any significant changes in the forecast or if anything changes for Saturday, because I know the event's going to be very important to you. But best of luck this weekend, and I'll be touching base again, and we wish you the best from WeatherFlow. Thanks for watching.